Greetings, my fellow gamers. It is I, Wraith King, bringing you news from beyond the mirror from the other world. Churnwalker is a complicated hero. Extremely complicated. Your team has to understand him. You have to understand him, but mostly your team has to understand what kind of hero he is if you want this guy to really work. He is a great hero, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this guy's terrible, don't use him. I'm saying this guy is great. Use him when you're ready. Because he is an unusual hero. He really is. A lot of professionals will definitely use this guy in ranked as the support. A lot of professionals will definitely use this guy because he is a great support. But here's the thing. What I meant by your team has to understand what kind of hero he is most of the time I've been running into a lot of occasions where my team just doesn't want to fight with me. Every time I get into a team fight, they just run away because they don't know what kind of support this guy gives in team fights. They don't know what kind of support he is. So when I'm in a team fight, they either want to back off and just let me be the tank in the situation, like take all the damage and walk away, and then jump in when they think I've used my ult or something like that. Then they'll jump in and say, okay, oh, he stunned everybody, that's my chance to fight. Or, oh, he pulled everybody toward him. Oh, okay, it's my turn to jump into the fight. Oh, he hooked everybody. It's my turn to walk away and let him deal damage for a moment so I can steal the kill. Oh, let me just wait a minute while he's dealing damage and all the hooks are on everybody, and he's clearly opening me up for a kill, but I'm gonna wait a minute and just sit over here in the brush while he's dealing all that damage and jump out. And when the right time comes and he uses ult and all the chains are off everybody, then I can jump in. I've been running into that so much with this character. People just don't get him. But again, he did just come out. A lot of people won't understand him. But in all, I really feel like he is a great hero, but he is a great hero later on. Right now, he seems a little bad because nobody wants to work with you when you're using this guy. I'm just telling you right now. No one will work with you because they don't get him. They don't understand what his ult is. They don't understand what his B is, and they don't understand what his A is. And that's why I'm here, my fellow gamers. I'm going to help you guys understand what the Churnwalker is. How does he work? So when you get into a team fight with the Churnwalker, or you're using the Churnwalker, you'll understand what type of hero he is. So without further interruption, let's take a look at the Churnwalker, shall we? Let's take a look at his first active ability. Hook and Chain. Churnwalker throws a hook into the targeted direction, dealing a slight amount of crystal damage to the first jungle monster or hero it lands on. Hooked enemies will take a small amount of continuous crystal damage. And if you land this ability successfully on an enemy, you will be able to cast it again instantly. But if you move too far away, the hook will detach, and you will have to use this ability again. So when you're in a team fight, make sure you're a safe distance between the enemy and yourself, so your chain will not break. Now let's take a look at his second ability, Torment. Hooked enemies, all hooked enemies, will be pulled toward the Churnwalker, dealing moderate crystal damage. Use this ability when your enemies are running away from you. That way your chain won't break. But alright, let's talk about his ult, and then I'll get into details about his passive. Trespass. All hooked enemies. Remember, all hooked enemies. All hooked. Churnwalker will leap in the direction of a hooked enemy. In this case, one of these poor jungle monsters. And all that are hooked will be stunned for a brief moment. And he will break all chains that have been connected, which means you will have to reconnect all the chains you just broke. And this subject brings me to his passive. Futility of Life. Whenever chain victims take damage from any source, Churnwalker regenerates 18% of that damage as health. And whenever any chain victims take damage, 30% of that damage is conferred on all other chain victims. This means that his ult should be saved for last. Very last. because you don't exactly want to break your chains during the team fight. His ult deals a decent amount of damage. But, be that as it may, you don't want to break your chains just yet. You want to maintain that crowd control you have with the enemy team. But if you break those chains, all of that crowd control will be gone for a moment, and you will have to reconnect all of your chains. And targeting for his first ability, his A, the hitbox for his chain ability is very low. So you have to aim correctly, because if you miss, you'll have to wait for the cooldown. The cooldown isn't long, it's about like 2 seconds, but regardless of that, you still don't want to wait those 2 seconds, because a lot happens in 2 seconds in a MOBA game. So it's best to be careful with using the ult. It's something you want to save for last, most likely when everybody is running away. You probably want to use your B, and then possibly use your ult. Now let's talk about kills. Don't worry about getting kills as the Churnwalker. That does not matter. Even though the Churnwalker can most definitely get them, don't worry about it. Because the more you worry about getting kills, the less likely you're going to help your team, and the more likely you are going to lose. The Churnwalker is good as a support. Really, really strong with support. Support your team. Do not worry about getting kills, because that will pressure you to use your ult and all of your skills that deal damage, making it hard for your ally team to actually work with you because you're not using your character correctly. Don't worry about getting kills. You'll get one, trust me, the Churnwalker's good at that, but worry about that last. Now, since this character's been released, I have a chance to tell you guys what kind of game this is. This is a MOBA game. In a MOBA game, all that matters is teamwork. It doesn't matter who gets the most kills. This isn't freaking Call of Duty, where the MVP who has the most kills gets the most points and gets the most stuff. No. Leave that out the door. That's not what this game's about. What this game is about is teamwork. If you do not cooperate with your team, you will lose. But don't get me wrong, Churnwalker is very powerful, and he can get a kill if you use him correctly. But again, don't make this the reason you're using Churnwalker, because he's meant to help get kills. He's not meant to get kills. Once you realize this, it'll be easy for you to get kills. Just don't even worry about getting them, because Churnwalker does continuous damage on his hooked enemies, which means if they're running away and they're at low health, Churnwalker's gonna end up killing them if the chain's still attached. Now, characters like Crawl and Rhyme, a lot of people think they'd be hard to deal with as a Churnwalker because you have to keep a close distance to your enemy. But it might be the other way around. Churnwalker might be hard for Crawl, and he might be hard for Rhyme. Because, first of all, Crawl has to stay close to deal damage, and so does Rhyme. Churnwalker is known to be dangerous up close, but only if your allies are nearby. If your allies are nearby, it would be a nightmare for either Crawl, Rhyme, or anybody else to stay in the same area. So alright, let's say you're getting into a team fight, and Churnwalker's on the enemy team. You probably want to attack Churnwalker, don't you? Because he's the one spreading out the damage. Well, not entirely. Churnwalker does spread out damage, but you have to keep in mind that he is kind of the tank in the situation. He's getting HP, and he's spreading out the damage. He's not really doing the damage. Everyone else is doing the damage. His allies are doing the damage. When you attack him, all you're doing is making it harder for your team to survive in the team fight. So the best idea would be to attack Churnwalker's allies so he can't do any more damage to you. As the Churnwalker, you will be in the front lines a lot. I mean, like a lot. He will be taking a lot of damage. So items like the Crucible, and of course the mighty Fountain of Renewal, work exceptionally well for the Churnwalker. Fountain of Renewal for pretty much every build you make. Crystal or utility. It is something you're just going to want to have as the Churnwalker. Why? Because it makes it practically impossible for your enemies to stay in the team fight. They're taking all of this damage from your chains and everybody else, and at the same time, your team is being recovered and being protected by the Crucible and the Fountain of Renewal, that makes it incredibly hard for your enemy team to stay in the fight, especially when they don't have a healer. Now, relatively speaking, every one of these defensive items are a good idea. But I prefer the Aegis or maybe the Atlas Pauldron because the Atlas Pauldron, well, because it slows down those really fast and potential threats in team fights. Enemies like Crawl or maybe even Idris, they're known to be very fast and dangerous because of their speed. So it's a good idea to buy this item, especially if you're going against fast characters like them. Aegis because it helps the Churnwalker stay in the team fight. It keeps him from being stunned and separated from the enemy team by a forced accord. Because the enemies do not want you to have the chains stuck to all their allies. So they're going to want to separate you or stun you so they can run away and detach your chains from them. So the Aegis is definitely something you want to get as the Churnwalker. Now as for crystal items, Clockwork is an excellent selection for the Churnwalker. I'd say now more than ever because Clockwork has been recently updated by the devs. So that's really good news for all the Clockwork fans out there. And that means Taka is 3 times as deadly as he normally is. Great. Now those are my thoughts on the new hero Churnwalker. He's personally one of my favorite characters. Now, I kind of say that with all the characters that have been released, I'll be honest with you. Every character the devs release on this game just gets better and better, and Churnwalker is just a good example of that. I hope you guys enjoyed me screaming at the screen and talking about, "This is how you be a support! Oh, this is the point of the game! What do you think this is, Call of Duty?" Blah, blah, blah. Well, you see, Churnwalker is a very supportive hero, and you need to understand what the game is if you want to use the Churnwalker well, and you need to understand, and your team needs to understand, rather, what the Churnwalker is in order for them to use him to their advantage. Because the Churnwalker is really good with helping getting kills. I mean, you can get a lot of kills with the Churnwalker on your team. A lot, my fellow gamers. But you have to know how he works. You can't just let him solo. That's not what the Churnwalker is. He's not like Finn, who can survive pretty much everything. The Churnwalker is a very powerful support, but you have to understand him if you want that power to be put to good use. But anyways, that's all the time I have left for this video, my fellow gamers. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to leave a like, comment, and please do subscribe to my channel. I love to upload Vainglory videos. I review every new hero that Vainglory releases on this channel, and I make sure it's as soon as possible because I love these heroes. Every new hero that's released, I make sure I get right away because the devs work really hard on these characters. And the best part is, they make the entire game just incredibly free to play. And all of these new characters don't improve your gaming experience. They do not. They're just new characters. They do different things. They're not VIP. They're not extremely powerful. They're just heroes. And I really respect that because some games really do just make new characters really overpowered, and they always cost money, and they're like legendary characters or something like that, and you have to pay so and so to get them, some VIP pack. I absolutely hate that. Vainglory doesn't do that with their new heroes. Every new hero is just special in their own way. Every new character they release is not the greatest character in the game. They're simply a new character, and I absolutely admire that. But anyways, that's all the time I have left for this video, my fellow gamers. Take it easy for me, and have a blessed day. Bye.